Here we are, the Wrestling Vault. I believe this is vlog number 14. RJ Boudreau here with Mitch Hancock. We're with Director of Operations at the University of Illinois, Bryan Medlin. Bryan, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me.
Hey, Coach, talk to us a little bit about and give our listeners and viewers a little bit of our perspective about your journey to the University of Illinois and where this all started, right? A little bit about your back journey at Washington High School.
Yeah, so I started coaching at Washington High School in 2004. And just kind of along the way, I got pretty close with some of the guys on the Illinois team. Zane Richards was one of my kids that wrestled for me when he was younger. And so he would bring over guys that were just kind of on the team at the time, Isaiah Martinez, Jesse Delgado, and a few others. And we would work a lot of the freestyle stuff. That's kind of Freestyle Greco is kind of where my passion is. So, I think I first got the offer to go to the RTC sometime in like 2016. And then, I had some stuff happen with my life. My house actually burnt down in 2017. So I figured it was like it's like God kind of pushing me towards that. So, we were in a really good place in 2017 at the high school. I felt like we weren't number one in the country, but we were definitely up there and had some pretty good success. So, and there was a coach that was there, Nick Miller, who, should have been a head coach for a long time. He's the head coach now. And, it just felt like a good transition time. The team was in a good place. And, Coach F reached out to me again and just decided to take the jump. And, I live in the same place that I did before. I didn't have to move. And I said, I have passion for Freestyle Greco, but I also have passion for Illinois. And I saw that they had a need here. And, it's kind of cool getting to do something, special and kind of a restart of, building a program from the ground up. So this
awesome. I know that, when we make the trips to Fargo, the junior duels, I mean, you're a constant in those environments. And, to me, you were always known as the guy with the big beard, right? That was always had Illinois in the national finals. So that's a pretty remarkable journey. Talk a little bit about Poeta, the recent hire of Mike Poeta as obviously head coach at Illinois, and the two star recruits you guys just landed in Cannon Webster and Christian Carroll.
Yeah, Poeta, I think is the perfect guy for the job. It's kind of, good. It's great timing. He's young. He's excited for Illinois. He's from Illinois. He wrestled in Illinois. He's, it's one of those things that it goes past the passion of wanting to do good in your first job. Everybody kind of gets to their first job and wants to do well. But he has this special bond with the alumni. He has a special bond with the administration, a bond with just the school. So, I think, looking at they looked at, every single coach that was available at the time and some of them that weren't, and I think him coming out of the fray of that really shows a lot to what he's all about. And, I think time will tell, but, he's kind of the perfect fit. I think it came along at the perfect time for the team's really young and, he recruited most of them anyways. So he's got the team that, that's been behind him. And, I think he's going to have success. I'm not quite sure, I'm kind of new to the rules of legality. If I can even talk about the recruits we got, but we do have some kids that are, excited for, world and Olympic wrestling. And, I think that's exciting to me. I think that when you got kids that are, starting to commit to you, that have goals that are even past college already, that are still in high school, but they're dreaming about Olympics, that type of person is going to have success past what they were, past college, so I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, RJ, I know you had a question for Coach as far as overseas, your trips. I know you made 3 trips to Russia this year, and I guess RJ wanted to pick your brain a little bit about that.
Well, first off, just hearing about your journey with Washington, and I think any sign of an exceptional leader is having a succession plan. And a lot of people don't kind of realize that, but it sounded like you were worried about how the Washington program that you built was going to fare, and you left it in great hands, and you still live in the community. So I just think that's, number one, that's pretty cool to hear. I think that's good for coaches to hear, but maybe also pick up on the fact that you did that. I think that's important. I think, I'm a fabric of my community. And I think Mitch is the same with his, and just cool to hear that. But, I watched a little bit. Go ahead.
I think that's important, for me too. Like I always pictured my sons and daughters going to school there, like I'd never really thought about them having to transition to a new place that we didn't know or anything. And I probably wouldn't even entertain any job anywhere else. So yeah, that's something I never really thought about. I'd never really internalized in my head, but at the same time, that's a good point, is that, I think you create, because it wasn't me. It was just it was a bunch of like-minded people that were together at the same time, that I think, that special relationships get built, and you don't just do them for wrestling, you do them for life. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, your guys' championships and success were a product of what you just mentioned. So it's very cool. And then, a thing that came out of it, we were just talking before we started recording, just about a trip that you were supposed to take up to Lowell and wrestle us, and it got postponed by Snow. Your administration maybe wasn't on board with sending you guys up there, and it really wasn't even comfortable with you guys traveling a lot, and then, I think that's changed, and Washington's traveling a lot more and obviously having more success. I watched a quick video on you talking about your trips to Russia, and, obviously that's an extreme amount of traveling. And you even mentioned, you're talking about these relationships that you built, the special relationships. You have relationships with people over in Ossetia now, that have probably changed your perspective on the sport, and probably given you some diverse wisdom within the sport of wrestling. So I'm curious of, I want to do that. And I'm curious how you did it, and, how you organize it.
For the first time we went, it was I was going to go to about 5 different places. I had some kids that really had some aspirations of doing well at the Cadet Worlds at the time. And, it was one of those things. I just kind of would reach out to this person and another person and another person, and another person. And just I was actually set to go to St. Petersburg, which I had been to St. Petersburg a bunch at that time. I had went over there before for competition and things like that. So I kind of was comfortable with that area. And then just got hooked up with a guy randomly that had been coached by a guy in North Ossetia. And, I obviously I did quite a bit of research on where the best wrestling was in the world. And, I think it just was one of those things that just kind of happened the first time. And, I didn't really know a lot. The first trip I was very panicked the whole time. Just taking kids over there. I took a real small group. I think we had Jacob Warner, who wrestles at Iowa right now, Dak Punky, who wrestles at Missouri, and then Colin Carr, who wrestled for Minnesota, and then actually wrestled for U of I in his last year. But he just took those 3, and we made our way over there. Those guys are real mature, so I was real happy about the decision for the guys that I took. Those are the 3, and then I built a really good relationship with the coach. Me and him and his family kind of got along, and then that was, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, I think. And just we talk almost every other day, and he's a great person. He's a kind of became integral fabric to my family. And since then my son's been over there with them, and they treat us like we're members of their family, and we treat them, hopefully they see the same way. So it was just kind of lucky. I guess, I feel like, that we were just kind of blessed that we met these people right off the bat. And, since then, just, there's 2 or 3 club coaches over there that I've gotten pretty close with, that we see each other a lot now on like junior world trips or cadet world trips, or we'll make plans to go out to dinner or something like that whenever we go to the junior worlds and meet up there. It's a special bond.
So, you were a high school coach at that time, right?
Yep.
When I first started. Yeah. So, and you just mentioned you kind of got lucky. I have a quote that I look at in my office. It says, "I'm a great believer in luck, and I find more harder I work, the more I have of it." And that's a Thomas Jefferson quote, and like, I feel like kind of speaks to what you're just saying. Like, I don't feel like that was lucky. That was you putting some work in, and I just can't imagine, talk about traveling. I can't imagine thinking about, I'm going to go to Russia and train, or I'm going to go to overseas and train, and then trying to navigate that process. That's a tough job for a coach like me. But to think about the position you were in, and kind of navigating that, and you're doing that for your kids, it wasn't for you, it was for your kids. Just kind of special, I feel like. And it's easy to see why maybe you had so much success and continue to have it. So I just, kind of inspiring. I kind of want to do it myself. And for those of you out there who don't know about, Ossetia and the regions of Russia, you have a couple big ones with Dagestan and Ossetia that kind of bring out almost all of Russia's Olympic champs and world champions and things like that. And when you said you speak to them every other day, are you speaking in English?
No, I speak Russian now. So I that was one thing when I first went over there. I decided, like, when I came back, I had heard this story about Dave Schultz, that Dave Schultz took Russian. So I was like, yeah, I'll take it. And then it is hard. It's a hard language. So every time I go over there, I speak a little bit better. I try to study at least, 20 to 30 minutes a day. I know that sounds, some days I get it, some days I don't, but, for the most part, I try to do as much as I can. But we've got, I feel like in order to, you got these apps on your phone that you could kind of just pass your phone back and forth. As long as you have data, you could talk that way, but it's so impersonal. I just feel like that's more of like information. If you need information from them and they need information from you, it's pretty easy, but it's really awkward to have a conversation that way. So I probably speak at like a 8-year-old's level, I guess is what I would describe it as. I don't think you have to. I just think that I felt the need to, especially, like I said, I heard Dave Schultz said, I heard an interview with Kyle Snyder after Olympics, and I heard he's also doing the same thing. So, I'd be curious to talk to him and find out what his progress is. I know talking to Terry Steiner, I think was learning it too, but it's hard. It's hard. Every verb, there's 9 different forms of the verb. Like, it's, if you do something and then they do something, and if we do something, it's all a different word. So it's pretty challenging, but yeah.
Wow.
Well, credit to you to having the courage to do that, right? And be a leader in our, obviously, freestyle and Greco circuit. That's pretty awesome. Yeah. Hey, Coach, obviously, in going over to Russia, Greco freestyle only, right? Talk a little bit about, and a part of our Coaches Corner is directed at, right, high school coaches. Talk a little bit about the importance of freestyle Greco training inside the high school room, and how you were able to incorporate that into your coaching at Washington.
Yeah, I think, and I'm not quite sure about other states, but I know Illinois got kind of a strong, history of freestyle and Greco. So it was fairly easy to get our guys to kind of buy into that those first couple of years. Plus, you could take a kid and show him a good gut wrench, and he's in every single match. It doesn't matter if it's freestyle Greco, if it's just freestyle, if you show him a good leg lace, if he gets one takedown, and he's kind of mastered that and skill set, it keeps him in matches. So I think, our guys were able to kind of compete early with guys that were maybe so-called better than them, at the high school age. And, I think that was pretty easy. And then the thing is, the skill building and the rules and everything else are much simpler than high school folk style wrestling. I think folk style is very complicated. It's not complicated to us because we understand it, but if you were just to explain wrestling, you would have a much easier time explaining freestyle to somebody than folk style. So I think some coaches maybe don't get into freestyle Greco, and I think that's changing. I think the majority of coaches do now, at least of good programs. But 10, 15 years ago, people just didn't get into it because they didn't understand it. And I think that the age of information and flow wrestling and your blog and other people else's, it's kind of taken that mystification away from it a little bit. So I think it's vital. I think it's for me, high school kids, at least the kids that I coached, they couldn't focus on folk style year round. I would have lost a bunch of them in the off season. Coming in and just wrestling top in the middle of June probably would have broke most of my better kids. So I think it's a good break to say, and we would follow through with it. We wouldn't wrestle folk style. We wouldn't wrestle a folk style competition after the high school season and before like a preseason tournament or Super 32s or whatever. And I think that telling them, hey, we're not going to go do this, it gave them the ability to kind of go all in on freestyle and Greco and not just kind of in the back of their mind use freestyle and Greco to train their folk style, which I think is kind of backwards anyways.
So you treated it as almost like a different season, different sport.
Yeah, exactly. It's like playing 7-on-7 football, or whatever, and I personally, felt that our freestyle and Greco is, because we have kids that, I mean, even now, just speaking to a couple kids that are graduated college and are graduating college, and they're going to go on to the freestyle circuit. And if you do it right, if you do wrestling right, your last matches are going to be wrestled in freestyle and Greco. And I realize our system is built for like folk style success. And that's what most colleges care about the most, if they were to be honest. But at the same time, those kids they're going to remember their last matches, and if you do it right, freestyle and Greco is going to be those last matches. So yeah, I think you have it 2 different seasons, but if you're putting the emphasis on freestyle and Greco early, you're giving them a chance to be successful in their last few matches.
So in saying that, Fargo, obviously, outside of a month ago, now we're transitioning into a folk style, season. So are the colleges, right? So they're all coming off the World Championships are in a week, but the Olympic Games were, a few weeks past. Talk a little bit about the transition of folk style and some of the things that these high school coaches should be focusing on, 4 to 6 to 8 weeks prior to the high school or college season. What would you focus on, right?
Yeah, no, I, was just having this conversation with another coach the other day. It was actually, I know you said Jordan Webster, but Matt Webster's Jordan Webster's dad. And we were talking the other day, me and Matt wrestled together in high school, and he's a coach at Washington now, or one of the coaches. And, we, about 2 to 3 weeks ago, they just started, it shifted from being really neutral heavy to more mat wrestling, and it's not, mat wrestling isn't, for lack of a better term, like you're not going to forget how to ride a bicycle. You're not going to forget how to mat wrestle. It's not something in 3 months you're just going to be able to, oh, I don't know how to do this anymore. You're going to keep locking your hands or, some silly thing like that. But at the same time, it does take that focus and you put it back on there. So, I think those advanced writing skills, they take time, so if you're looking at between, the time you get back from Fargo or the time you get back from the World Championships up until, the folk style season, you should be, if you're going to add some of that advanced crab riding stuff in or leg riding, now's the time to do that, and make it specific and let your team know, hey, this was our year-long training schedule. We meant we're going to put in this top camp for a weekend where we're going to bring in, a guy that's really good on top, and we're just only going to, work top for this weekend. But this is why, and it gives kids, I think too, it'll give the kids and the parents and everybody involved with the program more confidence in your overall scheduling. If you show them, hey, look, this is how we're getting back into folk style, and I personally, to be honest, like, top and bottom, like watching it is not the funnest for me, but at the same time, like, you know, I do realize that there's a lot of validity, especially in young kids, being able to wrestle it. So you gotta do it. It's kind of like cough medicine.
That's good. I like that. Just thinking about coaches trying to build a program. You know, I know there's a lot of them out. There's a lot of turnover in high school coaching right now, especially coming off this COVID year. You know, a lot of old coaches retired, and you know, you have a couple bits of advice for somebody building the program. Like you think back to 2004 and stuff. You know, what are the key things into building a program?
Yeah, and I mean, it's obviously building the program is probably the same reason there's a lot of turnover with young coaches, is that it just takes time. You know, it's not something that's going to happen today or tomorrow. It's going to take a pretty good plan. It's going to take support from other people. So I think I was really lucky in the fact that I had somebody that was also a young coach that wasn't married at the time, or that was married, but they had a young family. We didn't have kids, and we could just travel all the time, and we just loved it. I mean, that's the thing is, you know, I think it was easy for us because we cared about the school we were at, and we love the sport of wrestling. You know, and you got to want to, you know, I think your kids feed off that. When I'm around other coaches and I listen to them talk about wrestling and they are in it for the right reasons, I get excited. And I'm a coach. Like I'm not going to wrestle any matches. So I can imagine, you know, the impact that those excited coaches have on their program, and, you know, kids want to be around that. So I think just kind of knowing it takes a lot of time, and, you know, I can't imagine navigating these waters now, because I think participation numbers, you know, we're not going to feel the after effects of COVID for a while. You know, I think the youth and maybe the high school took a hit, and, you know, I'm not really 100% on, you know, how our numbers were looking anyways prior to that. You know, I've got some strong feelings about what the high level competitions are doing to kind of our lower level wrestlers anyways. But, you know, I think navigating these waters, it's going to take patience, and it's going to take, you know, some people being really creative in the way that they're running their programs to keep people excited for wrestling.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. Just the being patient and doing it for the right reasons. You know, like if you're in it to win a state championship after your first year, I mean, you're going to struggle, you know, you're going to burn yourself out. It's kind of like a diet. You know, if you get on a fad diet, and you expect to lose all this weight and keep it off, you know, you're going to struggle if you go all in so hard. You kind of dip your toes into the water. And I feel like, I don't know about you, but you mentioned people and support, not being afraid to ask, you know, talk to different people and ask for advice and just beg, borrow, and steal. And I mean, that's honestly what we do on this vlog, is just, we ask people to talk to us and give us their advice. And I feel like that has a lot of similarity in kind of building a program.
Yeah, no, you nailed it. You nailed it. I think that's important too. I mean, ego is such a big thing with wrestlers. You know, I think we look at trying to ask people or, you know, talk to people as a weakness of something we can't do ourselves. You know, we're very independent and everything else. I think that, you know, that's exactly right. Cause I try to, you know, read and steal and, you know, look at what everybody's doing. And it doesn't matter. It could be a youth coach or, you know, it could be a world Olympic coach. I you know, some of the best, in my experiences, some of the best coaches in the world are the youth coaches. It doesn't matter if they're here, you know, in Russia or wherever, you know, the way that they kind of approach practice. And, you know, I think that there's validity in just asking people and talking to people about what they're doing, you know, that you could take something from it.
Yeah, honestly, that's the inspiration for us doing this Wrestling Involved. To be honest with you, is just that exact thing of, let's get it out to people. Let's get information out to people, and, you know, just ask people if they'll help us. And sure enough, their wrestlers are willing to help. And I don't know, I watch different technique videos on our website, and it's like I learn something every single time. The littlest things. But I guess maybe moving on to like a closing up question, last question, because we really value your time. You know, when you were elevated to, you know, the position that you're at, it was inspiring for me, being a high school coach. And I know there was some buzz about it. Just hey man, we got a high school coach going to the college level. I just want to know about the difference of, you know, what you were experiencing at Washington in high school. I'm willing to bet that it's not much of a difference. It's just bigger people and, you know, more advanced people. You're still probably doing similar things with those types of people. That's my guess. But I just want to hear from you, you know, what it was like in that transition and the big difference.
Yeah, no, it's exactly it. You know, I think there's more people on the University of Illinois team that were already kind of bought into wrestling. You know, I think that's the big difference. I didn't have to as much, and it's kind of weird that you still have to. You have to have those conversations about not quitting and, you know, what you wrestle for and, you know, what your motivators are and extrinsic motivators. And, you know, you still have to have those questions or those conversations with guys. But at the same time, there's more guys that are kind of already bought in to the fact that they're lifelong wrestlers. You know, I think that was a big challenge of mine in high school, at least, was getting those kids that, you know, just started as freshmen to kind of stick it out when they start losing as sophomores and, you know, it's not going as fast. You know, I think that was a big change for me, but for the most part, you know, the guys that I get to coach, I'm extremely blessed in the fact that, you know, they don't have large egos and, you know, they're there and they just want to learn and wrestle. And, you know, just like the better kids that I had in high school, you know, there was the same difference is that they didn't care. They just want to wrestle and they want to get better. So, you know, it didn't matter to them, you know, if it was me or if it was, you know, somebody else that was kind of running the practice, they were going to do what the coach said, you know? So I think that it's been really fun. You know, I think that this was a spark that I needed in coaching. You know, it was something that I wanted to do at the right time, and it was exactly the right time. So there wasn't much difference. You know, I still run practices the same way that I ran them in high school. I try to be as creative as possible. You know, I think that there's a lot of ways that you can build skill into you know, practice, and I try to do that as much as I can. And, you know, I've got a running notepad on my phone that doesn't matter, you know, if I'm watching a practice in Russia or a practice in America, or if I'm just in my son's practice watching him work out or whatever, I can pick something up or, you know, be able to kind of create, you know, a drill or something like that. I think that's still exciting to me as a coach, to be able to, you know, say, hey, this is a new way to show, you know, to drill underhooks or whatever. So I don't think that there's not much difference in that way. So
Always willing to learn and grow, Coach. You know, and that's why RJ and I started this, and that's why we reached out to you. So we can't thank you enough for obviously taking the time to join us today. We have on after this, we have Ray Blake. Obviously, you probably know Coach Blake pretty well from Stanford and the connection with Illinois and Real Woods and so on. So he said to say hi and give his best, but we're going to have him on shortly hereafter.
Awesome. Yeah, tell him I said hi. He's a great coach. That Bixby team's really lucky to have him.
Well, we appreciate that. And now we all know who the guy with the big red beard at all these junior nationals and duels are. So thanks for taking the time to join us. RJ, anything in closing for Coach?
No, man. Thanks a lot. Looking forward to maybe getting you on the vault with some of those drills and techniques, though.
That'd be awesome.
Awesome. With the Wrestling Vault checking out. Thanks, Coach.